Moving on to the cricket, the second test at St George's, of course, this has been dominating a lot of your headlines. A very competitive series, a lot of theatre off the field. But I think as we speak, Australia are about 8 or 9 wickets down. So I guess it's safe to probably say that the Proteas have got this one to level the series. What have you taken from this, well, from the series as a whole, but the second test in particular, in the way that the South Africans have kind of bounced back, you know, in light of a lot of the off-field stuff, and then of course the big news and uncertainty around KG Rabada and his you know, over-the-top celebrations, and how the Proteas could lose their star bowler for the remainder of the series.
Yeah, absolutely. A massive turnaround between the first test, which was won fairly convincingly by Australia by 118 runs, to this test, which, as you say, it looks like South Africa will win and square the series 1-1, heading to the third test at Newlands next weekend. So, yeah, massive change. Obviously, a lot that's happened off the field that's obviously played some part. We had the whole David Warner, Sonny Bill Williams incident, which may have taken his eye slightly off the ball, if you like. Then the Kagiso Rabada celebration, bumping into Steve Smith, the Australian captain. You know, he's facing a hearing which we believe took place, was going to take place earlier over the weekend, but only took place last night. Obviously waiting for the test to be finished to hand out his punishment, which, you know, it would obviously be sad because he's bowling incredibly well at the moment, breaking all sorts of South African records in this particular test. But I guess, you know, he has to sort of learn as well. There's a fine line between that red mist that comes over fast bowlers in particular, and it's sort of sticking to within the law. So, you know, and his celebrations, despite the fact that he's up for this hearing, haven't sort of diminished at all. He's still showing incredible fire when he comes in and takes wickets, you know, screaming, shouting, the odd swear word, I'm sure, as well, under his breath as well. So not a great advertisement, obviously, for South African, the future of South African cricket in this series. With Dale Steyn, you know, will he be back for the third test? Won't he be back? He's under an injury cloud as well. South Africa can't afford it, I think, to lose Rabada, as this might swing back in Australia's favour for the third test. So it hasn't been officially handed out, but I fear the worst for him. I suspect he will get banned for perhaps the third test, maybe even both. Which will obviously be a massive blow. You know, hopefully a learning curve for him, because, you know, you simply just can't go ahead continue, you know, in the way that he has with these celebrations. And it, like I said, it didn't get any better, which was quite surprising. Nobody seems to have had a word with him, you know, in his ear, because one or two of the incidents would have, I think, merited sort of a citing or a hearing on its own. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But as I say, I feel the worst for his future in this series.
Rob, if South Africa does lose Rabada, they will, of course, potentially get Dale Steyn back. I mean, it does seem a shame that with these, you know, these players that are top of their game, there's always a sort of catch. You know, they've got disciplinary issues or they've got injury issues. But Rabada has also been complimented well by Ngidi and Philander. Also, the batsmen have stood up. AB de Villiers finally getting a ton after a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that was a massively important century. We've seen a lot in the series, players getting in and getting out. You know, lots of quite attractive-looking 30s, 40s, 50s. So de Villiers really proved his pedigree. I mean, a monstrously effective innings, and that really sort of took the wind from the Australian sails. Hopefully, of course, leading to a South African victory just a little bit further down the line to square up the series. The big conundrum, as you mentioned, of course, is with Rabada likely to miss the third test at minimum, then what do you do? I mean, Dale Steyn, we saw flashes of what he could do in that test against India at Newlands, when, of course, then he got a completely unrelated injury to his shoulder and a damaged heel, which has taken, you know, some time. He's not a young player anymore. My instinct would be that if he seems fit enough, that you do play him, because he is a known wicket taker. He's a big occasion guy. He's a little bit like Rabada in terms of, you know, when that machine gets really fired up, he's capable of getting lots of wickets. But they can still fall back on, of course, on Morne Morkel, who doesn't tend to run through teams. He's not a massive sort of wicket taker. So there is, you know, he does help to build pressure, but he doesn't always take massive stocks of wickets. So some tough selection, you know, sort of conundrum conundrums down the line for that Newlands test, which hopefully will be one that sort of gets South Africa the opportunity to even get their noses in front now as the home side, and then of course go to the Wanderers defending a 2-1 lead. But that's putting the cart well before the horse, because these Aussies, if thinking of a South African team minus Kagiso Rabada at Newlands, Australia will probably be thinking, hang on a second, chaps.
That pack mentality they have.
Absolutely. They might well be thinking, we're actually favourites for Newlands. We might be able to at least prevent ourselves from losing the series by winning at Newlands. So all to play for, and I think the selection, how right South Africa get their selection or otherwise, could play have quite a key bearing on the eventual fate of the series.
And the batting lineup, Rob, are you sort of happier with how the tail wagged a bit this time round, and obviously Markram also at a great innings?
Yeah, it's perhaps coming together a little bit gingerly. Still some doubts about a few players. I think Garen will agree that some players who you'd expect to do a bit better, like Faf du Plessis, the skipper, has had a bit of a rough trot in Test cricket of late. But we know that he's good enough to bounce back. He is a very durable sort of batsman when he gets going. But a few issues there. Hashim Amla, of course, put in a lengthy vigil at St George's Park, which was probably good for him, good for his confidence. And I don't think he got out to Hazelwood, which was a bit of a bonus. So that helps a little bit. Aiden Markram has looked technically very good in the series so far. So, on paper, the batting does look quite decent. A lot of people have been saying that on paper, maybe our batting is superior to the Aussie batting lineup. They've still got doubts about a few positions, one of the opening berths, one or two of the middle order positions, not that settled. Whereas our batting, if our guys deliver to potential, is potentially still that bit better. So we just need them to come right collectively. When that South African batting lineup does come off collectively, they're a very different kettle of fish and makes South Africa a very dangerous side again.